There's two kinds of salespeople, okay? There's a salesperson that sits there and waits for sales to come. There's others that go out and create sales. If you're going to simply wait for sales to come, you will never succeed, unfortunately, because it doesn't just happen. No business survives without sales. I don't care what business it is. No business survives without sales. So the question is, how do you get those sales? First part, when you first start, how do people get to know you? How do they grow when you're just starting a business? How do you grow? Okay. Well, there's multiple ways. Obviously, you can spend millions of dollars in advertising if you got the money. God bless you. That's fantastic. I believe that business doesn't have to be just, I want this and da 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 da. It doesn't just have to be regimented. I think that we as human beings have to appreciate each other and have to get along with one another, and wherever we can, have some fun. Do what you want to, but plan everything out. Don't just jump into something. Try to plan it out as best as you possibly can. You can mediate some of the potential difficulties. Talk to some people that are in business. Talk to others in your field if they'll talk to you, and get some of their feedback, some of their knowledge, and utilize what you think works for you and go with that.
Hello everyone. I'm pleased to welcome you again to another beautiful episode of the Breakthrough Room with Dolapo. Today with me, I have a man of honor, a man of vision, integrity. He has been in business for 40 years now, and today he's here to inspire us. He's here to tell us about his journey. He's here to tell us about the chaos moment, and he still chooses to be in business. So I hope you're going to be learning something great from the president and the founder of the MK Global Trade Incorporation. So welcome with me, Mr. Martin Kahan.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly flattered. I'm honored that you've asked me to come. I truly am. Yeah.
And I'm so happy you're here today. Thank you so much for coming. And 40 years in business.
Well, it's been on and off for. I'll tell you my story. Okay, so I started my business venture, I guess you can call it, at the tender old age of 17. So the truth of the matter was, I was not a fan of going to school. I hated school. My father had just started a little meat company. That was back in the early 1970s. And he said, well, fine, you don't want to go to school. You're going to come work with me. I said, okay. Little did I realize that working with him was extremely hard, because it meant in those days of carrying sides of beef, hinds of beef and whatnot from the truck to the store and so on and so forth. I said, yeah, this is not for me. So I just got into sales. I said, okay, you know what, I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to sell for our company. We'll grow it that way. And he said, sure, whatever you want to do, right? And that's when I realized I absolutely loved sales. I love meeting with people. That was my passion. So that was my first increments. Back in the late 1980s and early 1990s, I got involved in international trade, whereby I was dealing with countries like Ukraine, where we were putting together multi-million-dollar deals of moving some of their products from point A to point B. And that became my first, I guess you could say, my first inauguration into the barter industry, because cash wasn't the biggest thing for them. They wanted everybody to be satisfied with certain goods and services. So I was able to provide goods and services for various people in order for me to get the things that I wanted. That's kind of what led me to this current journey.
Inspiring.
It's fun. It was fun.
So you've been in business for more than 40 years?
Oh yeah, on and off for sure. Yeah. This particular industry I've been involved with, which is known as the barter industry, I've been involved with it now since 1997. So I guess 29 years, right? But I started this company It's actually going to be tomorrow will be 19 years exactly.
Okay.
And I started it with the notion of how having the knowledge that I did about the industry and about barter and so on and so forth. I guess my biggest thing was how can I as an individual help businesses grow, scale, whether it's small, medium, or large, without having to spend a ton of money. The biggest problem we all have, and doesn't matter what size of business, it's called expenses.
Yeah.
So the question is, how can we provide a safe avenue of being able to sell you as an individual, or sell the goods and services that you're providing, in order for you to get goods and services that you otherwise would be having to pay cash for. That's where we are today.
So for the long years in business, do you have I'm very sure you have so many chaos moments.
Chaos moment?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I remember one time I was in Kiev, in Ukraine, and this was in 1994, and I met with then the mayor of Kiev. And it was an interesting experience because I couldn't speak their language, they couldn't speak mine. We had translators, and we were working through translators the entire time. And my thought always is how to take a situation and sort of bring it down so that we can all kind of enjoy each other. It doesn't matter what languages we speak. And the mayor this was in January, I think, of 1994, and he was very curious. He wanted to know what Winnipeg was like. Okay, and how do I explain to him what Winnipeg is like in January, right? Because in Kiev, believe it or not, it was +5, +8, whereas in Winnipeg it was -40, right?
Yes.
So I said to him, I was joking around, and I said to him, you know, Mr. Mayor, under the old communist system, when people were bad, they would send him to Siberia. And he'd say, yes, yes. And I said, well, you know, in Canada, they sent him to Winnipeg. But he looked at me like my translator was on the ground. He was laughing so hard. So moments like that, I think, brings a lot of joy. I enjoy meeting with people. I enjoy having fun with people. I believe that business doesn't have to be just, you know, I want this and da-da-da-da-da. It doesn't just have to be regimented. I think that we as human beings have to appreciate each other and have to get along with one another, and, you know, wherever we can, have some fun.
So this industry, barter, and I understand that MK Trade Global is one of the largest, or is the largest, you know, trade barter organization in Manitoba, right?
We're the largest in Manitoba. We deal with almost 700 local businesses, but we're also connected with barter companies right across Canada, because this is not a unique thing, okay? So we actually have connections from Montreal to Vancouver, and we've helped many companies grow across the country by simply using the goods and services that they can provide by trading for trade shows, for other markets in Toronto or Vancouver, etc. Yeah, so it's not localized, for sure.
So that brought me to ask another question, like, if you think about your journey, like if you think backward, maybe you think about your 25-year-old self, what do you think you can do better that you have not done? Or probably you think back and say, okay, if I was 25 years old or back in business, this is what I would have done better for business.
I think, and that's a very good question. Because often, and we all do that. I'm sure we all kind of reminisce and say, "Oh, I wish I could have done this. I wish I could have done that." If I had my wish list, I guess, to fill, I would have started this type of a business back in my 20s.
The same business?
Absolutely, because it's for me, it's in most cases, it's so fulfilling, helping companies grow. I mean, we have, I'll give you an example. We have a very large flat roofing company. Okay, he came to me a few years back and he said that he needed our help. He wanted to grow. I said, well, tell me about the company. He did, told me a little bit about it, and it's been in business for quite some time. And I said, well, why do you need my help if you've been in business for such a long time? He says, well, I just took it over, and the truth of the matter is the previous owner just destroyed it. And I have to rebuild it. I have to be able to do something to get us back in the limelight. We then took that and we put them together with one of our sports clubs called the Winnipeg Gold Knights. Okay, that was their first inauguration into the barter industry. That turned into a $1.3 million deal, which inevitably made this company go from people that weren't looking at them seriously to somebody that they were really looking at seriously. They're extremely busy right now. They've grown all over the place, and we still have a very good relationship with them. So those are the things that make me happy, but that's on a larger scale. We've also helped restaurants grow. We've helped local businesses grow because unfortunately in this world, we aren't born into money. You know, most people are not born into money. Most people are small, medium-sized business owners. They just want to live day to day. And some of the things that they need to do, and they know they need to do, whether it's to get a website built or whether it's to get marketing or anything of that nature, unfortunately, they don't have the funds.
Yes.
Okay? They have the abilities. If they're painters, of course, they know how to paint. If they're electricians, they know how to do electricity, but they just don't have the funds. And we grow up in a society where we're basically told, you don't have the funds, too bad. Well, but it should never be that way. That's ridiculous. It's an absurd way of looking at things. By working with us as a barter company, we know we bring them business with people that they've never done business with before, and then they use those funds to be able to get a website, to be able to get the marketing, to be able to get the printing done. And I think that's probably one of the greatest joys. You know, when I see this every day in dozens and dozens of invoices that come across my desk of deals that have been completed.
That's so interesting. Like, I'm looking at it like the main reason sometimes, you know, you have to be in a business that gives you so much joy and pleasure, because for you to last in this business, I want to believe it's really making you happy.
Well, it's so funny because so many times people say, well, when are you going to retire? I say, you know what? And the truth of the matter is that if the notion of retirement is not part of my agenda. And the reason is because I still love what I'm doing. Really? I truly believe that ages should never be a barrier. You stop working because you no longer enjoy what you're doing, or you find something that's going to bring you more joy. Listen, I still jump out of bed at 5:30 in the morning. I'm still ready to go. I'm constantly on the phone. I can be sitting at home watching a show. My cell rings, or I get a text, or I get an email, or whatnot. That's fun. I enjoy it. When you're enjoying it, why do you not want to?
Why do you not want to?
You know, my late dad always had this notion. He believed at the age of 65, I got to retire. That's the end of it, right? And he did. And he was so unhappy. And unfortunately, at 72, he passed away. And he wasn't a happy man because he gave up what his passion was. You know, he was a meat man. He was a meat cutter, right? And he enjoyed that. And I said, you know, that's just not me. As long as I love what I'm doing, you know, why not keep on doing it?
So you're not looking forward to retire?
No, not really. Not. I think it's funny because my wife and I always joke, and she says, I think if you retired, I would have to kill you because you'd be so bored. And you know what? She's right. My passion outside of work are my grandchildren. I have 5 of them, and I think that they're literally the world to me. So whenever opportunity my wife and I have, well, obviously we spend time with them. But besides that, that's about it.
So if you want to tell someone right now that, okay, about business generally, an aspiring entrepreneur looking forward to start a business, not about the product or the service he or she wants to go into, but for 40 years, for someone in business for more than 40 years, like an advice to someone who wants to start a business?
Well, you know what? First of all, I have to seriously give credence to anybody that wants to start a business. It's obviously very difficult because we all know the pitfalls of being in business, and especially now when prices are just absolutely insane about everything. but you have to live your dream. I mean, you just do. I've met so many people in my life that didn't do what their dream was, and sadly, they're just miserable. Because they could have, should have.
Miserable.
Yeah, I mean, this whole, I could have, I should have, I would have. You live once. As far as we know, we live once. I haven't met too many people that have come back. Not to me, anyways. Do what you want to, but always think about how you're going to do that. I mean, obviously trading, in my opinion, is one of the best things, is one of the main reasons, but plan everything out. Don't just jump into something. Try to plan it out as best as you possibly can, because that would be, and you're never going to plan it all. That's just not possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
However, you can mediate some of the potential difficulties. Talk to some people that are in business. Talk to others in your field. If they'll talk to you, and get some of their feedback, some of their knowledge, and utilize what you think works for you, and go with that.
That's amazing, and a very inspiring, comment from your advice for you, because some people, like you said, live a miserable life because they don't fulfill their dreams.
No.
There's something part of them that is missing that they're supposed to do and they didn't do, and that's kind of brought me back to how to thrive in business, because the main reason for this podcast is how can you thrive in business, how can you stay long in business in a moment of chaos, in a moment of I don't know what to do. Like you said, it's difficult. Being a business person or an entrepreneur is very difficult, so it's not a rosy journey. You're going to expect some difficult and more challenging moment that sometimes you cry as a business owner. Have you gotten to that moment before?
Oh, many times.
So what made you cry?
Many times. You know what? Sometimes you think that a deal is going to happen, and it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have a bad month, and you say, "Oh my God, am I going to survive?" Or whatever. You know what? Let me tell you what I think. I would give every potential and entrepreneur the same advice. Treat others the way you want to be treated. You know what? What happens right now too often, unfortunately, is that some in society have zero respect for others. And I don't understand it, and I will never understand it. People set up meetings, they don't show, they don't call to apologize. I don't understand. Why would you do that to someone else whose time is just as valuable as yours? Would you like that to be done to you? No. Imagine that. Imagine if you're a store owner and somebody orders a bunch of stuff from you and just doesn't come pick it up. Now, so my biggest advice, and you've met Isaiah. Isaiah works for me. He's my sales department, and he's just now starting to understand that people in some cases are just not nice. And I think one of the biggest advice, the most important advice that I can give anybody that's going to start a business, and even if you're not going to start a business, respect others. Respect others the way you want to be respected, because that will bring you, the joy that you want. People will look at you differently. They'll treat you differently. We as a company would not have grown to as many businesses as we have had I disrespected people.
Respect others the way you want to be respected.
Absolutely.
So, how do you thrive in business?
How do I
thrive?
Thrive? Oh, you know what? There are two ways of doing business. Okay, there's two kinds of salesmen. Let's look at sales. There's two kinds of salespeople. Okay, there's a salesperson that sits there and waits for sales to come. There's others that go out and create sales. If you're going to simply wait for sales to come, you will never succeed, unfortunately, because it doesn't just happen. In my case, I never sit there and wait. I'm constantly on the phone. I'm constantly trying to create situations that I know would be potentially good for you or for this person or the other person, right? by creating sales or creating situations of sales, you're getting people to number one, understand you. You're getting people to respect you, and most importantly, you're getting people to work together. Too often in my life, and no matter what industry I was in, I too often ran across people that claim to be salespeople. First of all, in business, let's be honest. In business, it's all about sales. It's always about sales. How you sell yourself, how you sell your company, so on and so forth. So I remember growing up in industries and just in general, whether it was in the meat industry or whatever, and too often I would run across salespeople that would simply go and they'd sit there and they'd wait for somebody to call them and give them an order. And they could sit there all day sometimes. I'm thinking, what are you doing? What are you accomplishing today? So, I think that's the biggest thing, is creating situations. Situations are not always just there. They aren't. You have to create them, and the more you create the situations, the more people will respect you, the more people will want to do business with you. Yeah.
So when you say situations, can you give us an example?
Sure. I mean, I can explain. Let's go back to when I was in the meat industry and I got into sales. Okay, and I'd compete against multi-billion dollar corporations. As a salesperson for my company, they would come in and they would rattle off just what's the specials. Mm-hmm. They would get the order for the specials and they would leave. And I'd be sitting there saying, why did you just do that? There's so many other things that you have to sell. So when I would go in there, I wouldn't even talk about the specials. I would talk about everything but the specials because I wanted to sell everything. And I started getting orders for things that were not the giveaways or not the things that were the lowest items because that people would buy more of. And I started getting a lot of orders. Now, in my current industry, as an example, I'm always on the phone prodding people, saying, hey, what is it that you need? What is it that by the way, when was the last time you did some marketing? Why aren't you using a marketing company? You're creating a situation whereby you're implanting a thought in their minds of things that they should be doing because you're seeing more or less what they do as a business. And when they do, that gives us the abilities to present them with somebody that can do that for them, obviously in trade. And it creates a position whereby now all of a sudden trades are going, people are active. So if I had not done that, they would be sitting there, not buying anything, not selling anything. What's the purpose of that? Right?
Yeah. So the situation thing, you're creating a situation to make sales. That's and that's how we even thrive in business.
Yes.
Because if you don't even have sales, I don't think the business is going to survive.
No business survives without sales. I don't care what business it is. No business survives without sales. So the question is, how do you get those sales? Yes. First part, when you first start, how do people get to know you? How do they grow when you're just starting a business? How do you grow? Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, there's multiple ways. Obviously, you can spend millions of dollars in advertising. If you got the money, God bless you. That's fantastic. But if you don't have the money, and in our case, it's why not trade with others to come in and see your facility or to do business with you, and then use that business to grow your business. I mean, that's key. I just had a situation with a company, and I won't even mention their names, but they need business so badly. But their excuse of not doing business with us right now is that it's very slow. I'm thinking to myself, isn't that when you really want business? When it's the slowest time, why would you not do business with other business people so that people will recognize you? So that you can market yourself by saying, hey, I do business with the Winnipeg Gold Eyes, or I do business with Confusion Corner Bar and Grill, or whatever the case is. But when someone says to me, well, it's the slowest time, so I can't do business with you right now, I'm thinking, why are you even in business? Because you're not looking at the realities of business. You're waiting for somebody to come through that door. How are they going to come through that door? They don't know who you are.
They don't know you.
Okay? So why would you not do it now? But anyways, that's just my
so that
thoughts.
brought me to I understand that cash flow is the blood of business.
Yes,
So, to your understanding, you believe that, right?
absolutely.
And so, like, I want you to kind of elaborate on how a business can thrive, with cash flow.
Well, okay, so cash flow is always a problem. We know that. I mean, no matter what you are, whether you're a restaurant, whether you're a marketing company, whether it's whatever, without having business, without having that cash flow, obviously you can't survive, right?
That's a lot.
Question is, how do you get to that cash flow? So I can only give you my experiences from the barter industry. By taking on new clients, yes, you're not being paid Canadian dollars. You're being paid what we call trade dollars or trade credits. But you're gaining business with other business people that don't even know who you are. But now they do, because clearly we market you, we do all of these things. Those people, if they're happy with you, will tell other people that are not part of the barter industry. So hopefully that additional word of mouth advertisement, if you will, brings you people that would never have come to you before because they don't know who you are. Okay, you got to start somewhere. I mean, as I said before, when you don't have the money, you don't do things, and that's an absurd way of doing things. I mean, if you start a business, you need a website, and everybody should have a website, because how else are people going to know who you are? But you don't have a website. Wow. So what, you're going to place a couple of ads on Facebook? Good luck. You're one of 10 gazillions of people that are doing that every day, right? But so you create a website, and then you start a marketing campaign to get people to that website. But if you don't have the funds, and most people say, well, I don't have the funds to do it, so I'll just, grow organically. I don't even know what that means. Organically, what is that? That's an absurd thing to say. With MK Global, we have people that'll build a website for you. The main one, nothing from you, except your trade credits that they can use somewhere else, right? And so that's the premise of our business. That's what we do. I always tell people that, obviously, if you're in Winnipeg or the surrounding areas, please, we encourage everybody to just talk to us. I mean, get a feeling of what it's all about. But if you're not, and you're from Canada, the States, or whatever, seek out a barter company. They're not bad people. They're there to help people grow.
I understand that years back, maybe when you started business.
That was the Stone Age.
Yeah. So that was in the era of social media right now, why so many people go online as a business owner, to gain customers online. How were you able to thrive those days?
Do you know what is a very good question? What I preach is what I've always done. I always believe that if you do the best that you can for others, they will tell others. So when I started MK Global, people were obviously familiar with me somewhat because I'd been working for another barter company. So when I started my own company, I would say probably 20 or so gave me a chance. They said, you know what, you did good for us. Sure, we trust you. We're going to go with you, right? But that was the core. That was the hub, right? But the more I did for them and the harder I tried for them, the more they would tell others, which is exactly what I always preach. I always say, if you do good for one person and they're happy with you, why would they not tell others? So the majority of my growth in the early days was actually word of mouth advertising. People were happy. They were trading with one another, and they were telling their friends. That was the biggest thing.
That's the power of referrals then.
That's the power of referrals. What I tell people that especially if you're a startup company or a middle-sized company, every business is good. Most every business is good business, okay? So when you get a client that comes to you that you've never met before, that becomes part of your portfolio. I mean, everybody has a portfolio, whether you like it or not, okay? Most people think I'm just going to place an ad on Facebook. I'm not going to pay for it. I'm just going to put my face on it, and somehow that's going to bring you a ton of business. Sadly, it doesn't, What will bring you business is a company that has come to you out of the blue because they were put together by somebody else that have referred you and says, hey, these guys are really good. So number one, any new business that you get, obviously becomes part of your portfolio. And that's what we preach all the time through MK. The other thing is, with us, we're dealing with business people. So two things happen. Number one, obviously they become part of your portfolio of anybody that you do business with, but they will probably be the first one to promote you to others outside of our industry, because they all understand the need for growth. We all have to grow. That's what we're all here for.
Yeah.
All of us want to grow. The question is, how are we going to do that without spending gazillions of dollars? That's the biggest thing.
So those days, your business depend on referrals.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And it was, today obviously we have our social media, we have all kinds of stuff like that to grow. But it was a different world in those days for sure. The unfortunate thing though is that some people are still stuck in those ages, and they just sort of seem to think that, well, no, people are just going to come to me because. And sadly, it's a different world, it's a different society, it's a different way of the people look at the world today, right? And businesses fail, even older businesses, they fail because they still have that same mentality. All you have to do is look around and see how many restaurants open and close or have been around forever and suddenly they're not in business anymore. Because they still live in the Stone Age, in a sense. I say Stone Age, I mean they live in the in the days where, everybody knows about me, they're going to come. Sadly, it doesn't work that way.
As a business owner in business, like an existing business right now, came to you from your experience saying, I need you to advise me I'm stuck right now in my business. I don't even know what to do. What would be your advice?
I would say, first of all, reevaluate your business. Take a look at what others are doing in your field and say, hey, is this working for them? Is it not working? So the first thing I think is looking at your existing business and evaluating it. Too many people don't do that. Oh, I'm busy and I'm this and I'm that. I'm going all over the place. You have to look at your business and you have to look at the model that was created when you first started it as compared to what others are doing today in that same field. Are they succeeding? What are they doing that you're not doing, etc.? You sort of have to get your head out of the what's the word I'm looking for? You have to get your head out of the ground and look at the world as it is today, not the way it was yesterday. Yesterday's yesterday. It's gone. It's finished. And I've been often told, that I had a lady come in yesterday, and it was the best advice. She said, your generation has to stop looking at things the way they were then and look at the way things are now. And she's absolutely right. I can't say that, the way things were in the 1980s or 1990s or 70s is working today, because it isn't. It just isn't, right? So you have to kind of look at what things are like today, how people are adapting to different things, and keep up. I guess the best thing is keep up with the times, as they say. Right?
Keep up with the time.
Sure.
So we're in the social media era right now, so we have to follow the trend.
We do, but even with social media, if you know the social media, that even changes. It used to be that you can go on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn and post your company and this is what we're about, but that's not what people want to see anymore. Today, even that's changed. Today, they want to have fun. They want to see different things. They want to see more engagements, not just products. And these are all things that I'm learning, and that every day, we all have to look at it and say, okay, how does this apply to me? And what should I do to alter this course?
So that's okay. And I want to ask about the AI world.
About
AI, artificial intelligence. So what do you think about this, helping so many businesses?
Now, keep in mind, you're talking to somebody from many years ago, okay? I'm not a fan of AI, me personally. I think I understand where it comes to play. However, number one, I think it takes away from the one-on-one. One-on-one is so important. I mean, you want to do business with other people. Why would you use an artificial scenario to get that working? That doesn't make sense to me, okay? I think that AI has some advantages. The major disadvantage is it takes away our thinking ability, and I think it takes away our talking ability. How do you make a sale to another person if you're not directly talking to that person? And that's my opinion. By the way, I'm not bashing AI in any way, shape, or form. I'm not knocking it. I think it's clearly, what's here, and it's the trend, and it's what's going to grow, and et cetera, et cetera. But I still believe, especially in sales, that one-on-one communication has to be there. Face-to-face is the best way. And not have a machine in between it, or not have an artificial intelligence scenario create that for you. No. Maybe in 10, 15 years, or not even 5 years from now, that whole scenario will change. I hope not.
The whole scenario of
communication, one-on-one.
Okay.
I hope it doesn't change. I hope that people will continue to communicate with one another on a face-to-face basis, because how do you gauge the sincerity of an individual without seeing them? How do you gauge the sincerity of the business without talking to them on a one-on-one basis? Instead of having a computer. The other thing that I have to look at from an AI perspective is, what is that going to do in 5 years from now when our population is increased by 30% worldwide? Where are people going to be working if machines are going to be doing all of this for us?
That's exactly what I wanted to ask.
Yeah. Because look at it. I mean, half this when you go to banks. Okay, well, there's very few tellers anymore. Everything can be done online. When you go to checkouts at stores, very few people. Everything is done, on its own, right? Yes. Does it save money to the corporations? Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's intended to do. But what is it going to do for us as a society when we're going to be looking for work? What are we going to be looking at? 50% unemployment? So how are we going to pay for the things that we want to buy if we don't have a job? Because AI is taking over those posts. Now, again, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not against it.
Yeah.
I think I'm for it under certain conditions. We cannot just say that AI is going to, it's going to take over everything. Think about what you're saying when you're saying that.
Understood. If you think about everything generally about business, and you say, okay, I want to just, I know you understand, you say you're not going to retire any moment, so that's understood. You think about everything generally business, like, okay, this is business. I'm thriving, right? MK Global is everywhere right now in Manitoba, and even outside Manitoba, if I'm not mistaken. So
we have clients in Calgary, we have clients in Vancouver, sure,
everywhere. So do you do outside Canada too?
We have some relationships in the States. We had more relationship, a little less now, I guess you could say. But our home is Canada. Our home is Manitoba, Winnipeg, but Canada is our home, and so I look to work within the Canadian economy.
Okay, so if you look at it like it, I'm a business person. You are in business, and it's almost 40 years. Do you have any regrets coming into business?
Do I have any regrets of getting into business?
Yeah, getting into business.
No. I as I said before, I've lived my dream. Working for others, for me anyways, was not in the cards. I could never. I worked for others for a while. There was a period where I had no choice, and it was probably the worst and the hardest time of my life, because I couldn't understand why people are. Why are you so lazy? It's your business. Why aren't you doing this or that or whatever? So Regrets, I mean, we all have regrets, of course, right? Could I have done this better? Could I have done that? So, yes, absolutely. But I don't think that from a business perspective, I regret, certainly not being in this industry. I regret maybe some of the things that I may have happened working in other industries that I was involved with. But, two things. I think I try not to live in the past because that'll destroy my present. Okay. So anything that may have gone wrong in my previous life, as they say, in other businesses, it's the past. I can't change the past. All I can do is try to do the best I can now and the best going forward.
That's inspiring, and I love the fact that you emphasize on so many points, like and give some keywords in this podcast, and you have really contributed a lot to any young entrepreneur out there.
I hope so.
Looking forward to start something, or maybe being stuck in their business. The reason or the main essence of this podcast is to inspire entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Because as an entrepreneur, we get tired at some point. Some people get tired to the point like I asked you the other time, like, do you cry in business, or have you ever gotten to a point like, God, what should I do? The chaos moment and the challenging time and all that. So we all get to that point, right? So some people give up at some point, and some people, stayed in faith, and some people keep moving. Like, it's gonna be better one day. It's gonna be, it's gonna be rosy. Entrepreneur journey is not a sweet journey.
No,
it's not a sweet. From my experience, it can kill you. To be honest, it can kill you like Jesus Christ and resurrect you again. So I think that's how entrepreneur is. So the essence of this podcast is to keep motivating people out there, entrepreneurs out there, to inspire them that they shouldn't give up on their dreams. We need more entrepreneurs in the world, and we can get tired of having entrepreneurs because we thrive like that, and someone's skill might also impact another person, so that's how what I feel, or my perception about it. So this podcast, the reason is just to inspire us, in fact myself, and to also advertise ourselves. Like, you came to this podcast today, so some people might not know MK Global, and
I'm more than now. Let me just say this: I'm more than obviously we are local. We are a local company in Manitoba, but if you are in Manitoba, especially in the Winnipeg surrounding areas, and you're in business, my door is open. I mean, it literally is open. I have never said no of meeting with people. If you're thinking of going into business, or you are currently in business and you want to grow and deal with all communities, because obviously this is what we do, please feel free to reach out to me. I have no issues whatsoever.
Okay, so I'm going to take a moment to introduce MK Global. MK Global is like a barter industry, where you come to MK Global as a business person or with your business, and they help you promote your business. They help you tell people about what you do. They help you connect with your client. So if you're in Winnipeg, or you're in Manitoba, or you are in Canada looking for a company to advertise you, or you are just a new starting company and thinking of where to partner with and how to increase your visibility and how to get clients from any part of Canada, MK Global is a very good place to reach out to. So in this video, we're going to be attaching their company's website and phone number for you to reach out if you want to promote your visibility online and also in Canada. It's the largest, I don't want to say it's the largest, trade company in Manitoba. So MK Global is the right channel to reach out to. So thank you, and I want to say a very big thank you, sir, for coming to this podcast.
It's my pleasure. It really is my pleasure.
I have learned one or two things from you, where you told me of what you said about staying in business, we're going to get so many chaos, but the ability to be able to stand faith and stay in business and all that, I've learned a lot from you today, and I hope and I'm sure you have been able to inspire someone out there, and keep them also.
I believe if I can inspire one person to do what their heart tells them, then I've accomplished my goal, obviously.
Yeah, because according to you, you said follow your dreams. Sometimes he does not want to retire now, so maybe we should start thinking of something we'll do so we don't have to retire soon too. So it's like following your passion, because he's happy with what he's doing, right? You're happy with what you're doing, that's why you're not thinking of retiring. So many people say, I want to retire at 40, retire at 50, and just keep living my life. As a matter of fact, I think everybody have to do needs to do what they are happy doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's one thing that will make us strive. So once again, I want to say a very big thank you for coming to this podcast today. Maybe we're going to be bringing you back soon to
awesome.
to expand, tell us your knowledge and inspire us again. So thank you very much. So thank you everyone for watching this episode.
Thanks,
and I say a very big thank you to all the audience we have, home and abroad. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying tuned. This is another wonderful episode from the Breakthrough Room. So stay tuned to the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.